Hello everyone, it's Emeka here and welcome to the second lesson in this piano for beginners series. Okay, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at two major things. The first thing we're going to look at is the concept of pitch, and the second thing we're going to look at is the concept of half step and whole step intervals. Okay, let's get straight into the tutorial. So the first question is, what is pitch? Pitch simply refers to the highness or the lowness of a sound. So pitch just tells you how high or how low a sound is. If you remember in the last video, I told you if you have two black notes and you go behind the two black notes, you have C. Okay? If you have another two black notes and you go behind these two black notes, you have C. So this is C and then this is C. Now I want to ask you a question. What's the difference between this C and this C? Do you know the difference? Well, in case you don't know, the difference is very simple. This C is higher than this C. If you listen to it carefully, this C here sounds higher than this C. So that's the difference. And so this is the concept of pitch. It simply means this C here has a higher pitch than this C. And this is something you must know about the piano. When you go from the left to the right on the piano, the pitch increases. But when you go from the right to the left, the pitch reduces. So this is something you must know about the piano. So the last thing we're going to look at in this lesson is the concept of half step and whole step intervals. Okay, so if you don't know what an interval is just telling you the distance, okay, between two notes on the piano. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the half step interval. So what is a half step interval? A half step interval is the distance between two notes that are side by side on the piano. I repeat, a half step interval is the distance between two notes that are side by side on the piano. So let me give you an example. This is B and this is C. These two notes are side by side on the piano, so the distance between both of them is a half step. Okay, this is E and this is F. The notes are side by side on the piano, so the distance is a half step. Okay, this is D and this is D sharp. Okay, these notes are side by side on the piano, so the distance is a half step. Let me give you one more example. This is A and this is A flat. Sorry, this is B flat. A and B flat. Okay, so the distance between these two notes is a half step interval. Okay, because they are side by side on the piano. So whenever you have two notes that are side by side or next to each other on the piano, the distance is a half step. And one more thing you should note is that there's another name for a half step interval, and the name for a half step interval is called a semitone. So when you hear the word semitone or you hear half step interval, they are referring to the same thing. Now let's look at the concept of whole step intervals. So what is an whole step interval? Very simple. A whole step interval is simply two half steps. I repeat, a whole step interval is made up of two half steps. Okay, so the question is, how do I know if the distance between two notes is a whole step interval? So for you to learn this, there's a simple technique I usually use, and this technique is called the skip a note technique. I repeat, the skip a note technique. So let me explain to you what I mean. If I'm here and I want to move to the right of the piano by a whole step, I'm just going to skip one note and go from here to here. So if I go from here to here, that's a whole step interval, and the note I skipped is this black note here. Okay, so the distance between this note and this note is a whole step interval. Let me give you another example. If I was here and I wanted to go to the left of the piano by a whole step, okay, to the left. So if we're going to the left, we're going this way. Okay, so if I wanted to go to the left of the piano by a whole step, I'm going to use the skip a note technique. So to skip a note, I'm just going to skip this black note, so I'm going to go from here to here. Okay, and so it means the distance between these two notes is a whole step interval. Okay, which is also the same thing as two half steps. Okay, let me show you one more example. If I had to go from here to the right of the piano by a whole step, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip a note. I'm going to skip this white note. So I'm going to go from here to here, and so the distance between these two notes make a whole step interval, okay, which is the same thing as 2 half steps. So that is how you get a whole step interval, okay. A whole step interval is simply made up of 2 half steps, okay. And if you want to get the distance between two notes, or know if the distance between two notes is a whole step interval, all you have to do is just use the skip a note technique, okay. Very simple and straightforward. And one last thing you should take note of is there's another name for a whole step interval. A whole step interval is called a tone. So when you see the word tone or you see the word whole step interval, they are referring to the same thing. And the reason why we're talking about half step and whole step intervals is because when you want to start to derive the major scale, you need to know how to use the whole step and the half step interval to derive the major scale. So your major scale formula is made up of whole step and half step intervals. The same thing with your minor scale formula. So this is why we are learning these things, okay. So take note of everything I've said in this lesson, and if you have any question, let me know in the comment section of this video and I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to stop here from now, and in the next video we're going to cover more exciting things that will help you get started on your journey to learning the piano. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.